The following program is intended for mature audiences.
Back about home and trying to make up for it. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Alabama wins!
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
and you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
The absolute worst!
Lots of stuff happened since we last met, boys.
Georgia football
Right.
has got to be cursed.
I think it's a tough gig right now being a fan of, say, the University of Georgia and the Atlanta Falcons, right? Got to be
If your colors are red and black and you play football in the greater Atlanta area,
Not good. Not a good time.
What is it about this place they can't seem to hold the lead? I mean, that's twice now in a year where it looked like their team was just a lock to win it all. And the next thing you know, you're watching the other team celebrate and walk off the field, and you're going, what just happened?
Monday night I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, here's Georgia. They have a lead. They're playing a soulless dynastic team, and they're blowing the lead. And then they're going to overtime. And it all hit me like, oh, my God, I have seen this movie before.
Yeah.
And that's what's so frustrating, I think, is it happened twice, but it happened to first the Patriots and then the Patriots of college football.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. I mean, that's such a perfect comparison that those two teams. I mean, that's exactly right. And
if it was any other team but Alabama that did this, it would have been one of the greatest games of all time. It probably is, but like I can't bring myself to be excited about it.
Yeah, like say if that had been who were the
Oklahoma.
Oh, let's say Oklahoma or Georgia. That would have been fantastic.
Yeah. Sure. If it was Clemson, sure.
And you brought it up when we were watching the game, Zach, but what is it with Saban? Why can't he find one guy that can kick a field goal?
Seriously.
Premier college football team in the country. You have been for a decade now, and you can't find one guy that can kick? I understand that they don't need to use a field goal kicker that often, but it still wouldn't be a bad idea to stick one in your back pocket just to have it when you need it.
You don't even have to recruit one. Just go over, say, who's your best penalty kick taker on the soccer team, and take them.
Yeah.
Say, hey, every week you're going to suit up with us. I'm sure they'd be okay with it.
Don't you think, too, that maybe the really good field goal kicker at, say, I don't know, Northern Illinois would love to play for Alabama? Come on. I just don't understand it, but it's been a problem he's had forever. But I feel bad for the Georgia Bulldogs because I didn't expect them to get this far. And then they have to go play Alabama, and then they get the lead, and then they just hack it up.
Georgia even got a home game for the championship.
Yeah,
they played in Atlanta, where they already won the SEC title.
Yeah.
It's an hour and a half away from Athens or whatever. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's like the things couldn't have been set up any more perfect for them. And
this stadium has got to be cursed, right? This stadium, first season opened after the Falcons disaster. Now this, like... Well,
and the best part was we call it Megatron's asshole, right?
Right.
Apparently, it's a leaky asshole.
Those are the worst. Those leaky assholes are the worst.
It was raining, and I guess dripping through the roof. So
you know what the lesson here is? Like, if they had just made a simple retractable roof like the Sky Dome, it would have been fine.
Right, or just a nice those ones that slide in like the 3 panels that they have like in I'm trying to think of where, like Houston or Detroit, Indianapolis, Minnesota for that matter.
Sure.
Would have been a piece of cake. I just wonder how many...
But no, they went for the fucking spinning goatsy one, and as a result of that,
Megatron's asshole.
Yeah.
I have to think that there's probably a lot of crossover with those two teams, right? Falcons fans, kind of like with Browns fans, Buckeyes fans, or, USC, Rams, whatever you want to call it. But they had to be gripping pretty hard when Alabama started coming back. I have to think, like you said, Zach.
Not again.
We've seen this before. We know what this looks like.
Especially for Georgia football. I mean, Georgia hasn't won a national title or even played in one since the
1980.
early 80s.
1980. Herschel Walker was on that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. last time, and that was back when it was just whoever got voted number one at the end of the season, that was your champion. So,
and wasn't that the last time that they won the SEC, or was
that I don't know.
Yeah,
no, they won the SEC. I think I want to say back in 2001, maybe, or something like that.
Okay.
Sounds right. Maybe I thought I heard that during the broadcast. But wow, I don't even know what you say at this point. It was, but I'll tell you this: the playoff wasn't all that great this year. I thought just not that exciting.
Well, I mean, we had the Georgia-Oklahoma game was good.
Yeah, that was a really good game. Yeah, actually, but
I mean, you had the Georgia-Oklahoma game, which is an all-timer, and then you had Alabama just kind of crush Clemson systematically, and then it looked like this was gonna but even when Georgia was up, it's not like this was a great football game even through the first half. No.
And I want to know why that Hawaiian kid hasn't been playing all season. He looked pretty good.
Oh God, he did look pretty good, but Zach, I think you linked it in the CCSLC forums about how
I did.
Some people in Alabama were not happy that a Hawaiian native was starting for them.
Well, they
like him a whole lot better now, don't they?
It was a screenshot from when he was originally recruited to Alabama, and the title of the thread on this Alabama message board was Tua language barrier. And he's like, basically, you read the whole thing. It's like, I know he's coming out of here. I don't know how his papers are going to work, but this guy thought that Hawaii was a foreign country.
Oh my
he didn't know Hawaii was part of the United States.
Oh my God!
Didn't know that they spoke English.
Oh wow!
Yeah, he's like, will he be able to understand? Are they using simplified playbooks?
Oh, for God's sake! You got to be kidding me!
And then to that I responded, these are the people that are being rewarded with an all-time dynasty. These idiots. The nice people of the world don't get these things, but Alabama, you get the college football dynasty.
I could understand it almost, except not even then, really, if he was from Guam or something. But then again, Guam is a United States territory, and they use dollars. Pretty sure they speak English. But Hawaii? How do you not know? I mean, okay, I understand not everybody's great with the geography. I get that. But how do you not know Hawaii is part of your country? You've got to work hard to be that stupid. You've got to want
I don't know, man.
I don't even know if the president knows Hawaii is part of the country.
Well, he didn't. Remember, he tried to pull the.
Oh right.
Obama was born in Hawaii, right?
Well, yeah. Well, that's another thing too. Okay, down in Alabama, where I'm thinking there's probably a fairly large portion of them that hated President Obama. They had to be paying attention when the whole birth certificate thing was going, and they're going, no, he wasn't born in Kenya. He was born in Hawaii, which I guess in their minds is just a different foreign country, I suppose. You're right. These people don't deserve this dynasty. They don't.
You know what? This was purely God rewarding them for not electing Roy Moore. That's what this.
That whole thing.
God was like, you know what? You didn't elect Roy Moore. Here you go.
I don't know. The whole thing, and honestly, the game itself, Georgia wasn't all that exciting in the first half. I thought Alabama's defense did fine. And then in the second half, I don't know what the hell Georgia did. They went away from what was working. And
why did teams do that?
I don't know.
Arrogance.
You saw the same thing.
It's the same thing the Falcons did, last year. And when we get to the NFL games,
I was just going to say
the same thing the Rams did.
And
same
the
thing the Chiefs did.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
When I play Madden, if there's a play that's working, I'm running that play until it stops working. I don't care. I don't care how obvious it is. I don't care how silly it seems. But if I'm hitting an out route every single time, I'm going to keep throwing it until you stop it. It's as simple as that.
And part of it, Georgia did make some good, Alabama made some good adjustments, sure. But Georgia didn't respond to those.
Yeah.
And thus they got shut down and didn't do anything with it. And even when Alabama gave them an opportunity, we didn't take our time to employ a field goal kicker. Here's your chance to redeem yourselves. They still screwed it up.
Well, and then
they even sack Alabama in overtime.
Right. I was just going to bring that up. It was like a 20-yard loss.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's ever a momentum shift, that's got to be it, right? In the next play, they hit him for a 46-yard touchdown. I don't even know what to say.
They start you on the 25 in overtime, and Alabama 46-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Think about that. Mm-hmm. Think about what you did to yourself.
You had a 21-yard sack on the first play of overtime and still lost by a touchdown. That should never happen, ever. Unreal. I just feel, I don't know if I feel that bad for him or not. I don't know. But I will say this. It's time to start looking at a different city besides Cleveland for teams that blow championships. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Because we had our drive, we had our fumble, but none of it happened in the Super Bowl or the national championship.
Hey,
and
the Cavs won.
And the Cavs won, and the Buckeyes, first playoff, and we just plowed our way through that and said that was that.
Well,
so we're
guys,
looking at you, Atlanta.
Look, honestly, I don't know why we're talking about any of this, because this wasn't the national championship game.
Oh, well, that would be what, the UCF game?
Oh yeah, UCF. They're the national champions, or so they say.
It's 15 years ago I would have bought it. I would have said, sure, why not? Back when we were still doing the voting and all that, even in the BCS era, I would have said, okay, because teams did that.
They really were banging the drum this week too. They had a parade. They said they're going to hang a banner.
My.
Like they really banged that drum this week.
That's embarrassing. That's like that San Jose Sharks banner they have at their practice facility that says like years made the playoffs. It's like, come on.
Back in 1985, if they want to hang a banner and proclaim themselves national champions, I'm all for it because that's the way it worked back then.
Yeah, I was reading a story about it, and they brought it. Since it was a local paper. I think USC in the 70s at some point. Or whatever. I forget when it was. It was older. But they had their national championship recognized by 75 different governing bodies. Yeah. So, like, that just shows you what college football was in the past, has been. I mean, wasn't it in 2003 when we had the Auburn, USC, Oklahoma situation?
I don't remember the year, but that happened.
2003, Auburn went undefeated.
Right, I swear that somebody voted Auburn the national champions instead.
Well, yeah,
I think they did. I want to say it was the AP that did.
Maybe.
And that's how it works back then. Even in the BCS era, you could still have split national championships, but now, especially UCF, you are part of Division I football. You signed off on this for the playoff thing, so you've got to abide by that. You can't say, well, we didn't make the playoff, we didn't beat anybody in the playoff, but we did go undefeated, and we did beat Auburn in our bowl game, so we're national champs. Again, 1985, 1995, I'm right there with you. I'm proclaiming you national champs right along whoever else won, but not today. I was going to bring up about the voting thing and stuff. Ohio State claims a championship from 1961, where I think it was like the Penny Saver voted them number one, and they said, good enough, here's some rings. And that was it.
The Columbus, Ohio Penny Saver.
It was like the East Liverpool Penny Saver proclaims the Buckeyes number one, and we're like, hey, fine by us.
Yeah.
Because my old boss played for that team, and he wore a championship ring from that Ohio State team, which was...
So they made rings? Awesome.
Yeah, they did.
I know some people have contended some of Alabama's championships in the past too.
Oh, everybody. Ohio State's got a few that are like that. Alabama's got a few. Back in the voting days, they're all debatable for the most part. Very rare you're going to have a clear cut number one, you know?
There was no way to know back then. And not that we really know any better now, but
at least there's a system in place.
Right. And UCF is part of the whatever the body of college football that recognizes that system, so shut up. I love UCF. I think it's great that they went undefeated. I love they beat Auburn, but you know what? You're not national champions. Period. End of story.
I think it's interesting only because, there's the only argument that I'll listen to for them is maybe they should have been included in the playoff. And like you think about it, there really wasn't a good fourth team. And yes, Alabama was the fourth team. And yes, they won the national title. So some people say, well, the committee's been vindicated. I don't think so. I think this is
I think they've been I will say they've been
I
vindicated.
saw your argument and I get it. And it just depends on your way of thinking about it.
Well, but for people that didn't read his argument, what's your argument, Mike? Why are they vindicated?
My argument is, okay, so it was particularly in response to something another poster on the CCSLC had said, and basically what they had said was Alabama one of the four best teams? Yes, they were, but they didn't have one of the four best bodies of work.
Yes, and I agree with that.
My argument is that, well, your first sentence ends all discussion. Were they one of the four best teams? Yes. We're all in agreement they were one of the four best teams? Okay, well then they deserve to be in.
Yeah, I can see that side of the argument. My only counter to that would be that they didn't win anything. And same thing with Ohio State last year. And and that's fine. The committee has set the precedent now where you don't have to, you can still get in. So if that's the way you're going to do it, then that's the way you're going to do it. But I also think if you've got a situation, maybe for future reference, if you've got a situation like this year where you're looking at it and going, we don't have a real clear-cut fourth team, yeah, you did. You had UCF sitting there undefeated. You could have put them in. So what I think this does for me is it just makes it all the more obvious that it's got to be an 18 playoff. But I see your point, Mike. If you said who was Alabama one of the 4 best teams in college football, absolutely, I think so. Sure,
but plenty of years we go through this, whether it's the NHL, whether it's the NBA, this happens in the NBA. Forget that. Whether it's the NBA or the NHL or the NFL, you get situations where you say the best team didn't necessarily win, but the other team won all the games.
Arguably, in the NBA, we should just go with the 4, like the top 2 teams in each conference.
This system would work so much better in the NBA than it does in college football.
Yeah, it really would.
But you get situations where...
Well, no, I wouldn't. You'd still have trouble finding a 4th team, but still, I get your idea.
The best team doesn't necessarily win the title. It's the team that wins the games, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you get that, and that's fine. And that's why playoffs are exciting, and really that's kind of what made college football exciting before this sort of stuff too. Was that every single game mattered, and if you lost, you didn't get to go forward, whether it was to the conference title game or to your bowl game of choice. If you lost, you didn't get to do it. You didn't get to go any further.
Yep.
Whereas now Alabama or Ohio State, it's almost beneficial to them to not play in a conference title game.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put Alabama against Georgia in the SEC title game, who's to say that they wouldn't beat them there because they didn't play during the regular season? If you put Ohio State in the conference title game a year ago, who's to say that they don't beat Wisconsin the same way that Penn State did? You can say that those teams are going to beat the other teams, or that they are better, but you didn't win the right games to get there.
Right.
And sometimes you have a situation where, like, you look at the NFL wild card, you say, well, the Chargers are better than Buffalo. They should have been in there. But things break in such a fashion that Buffalo gets lucky and they make the playoffs, and the Chargers are sitting at home.
Yeah, and the Chargers aren't hanging a playoff banner right now either. But that's to me, if you're going to continue with the 4 teams, you've got to fix this part of it, because that's 2 years in a row now that I won't say these teams didn't necessarily deserve to go, because I think they were both good enough to be in the playoff. But I don't know why, if you're, well, let's use like the Big 12 for an example, or the Pac-12 for an example this year. Why does the Pac-12 champion automatically become disqualified because they've got 2 losses? And you're putting a team in Alabama that didn't win anything. I don't think that's fair. Either you go to 8 teams and you get the 3 at large like we've all suggested, or you say we have to put the rule in that you have to at least win a conference championship to be a part of this thing. Because it's just, otherwise it's always going to be this debate. Even though Alabama and Ohio State both won the years that people thought they shouldn't be there.
Well, okay. Here, the thing about that is, I agree. Yeah, the 8-team playoff is the obvious solution to all of this. I don't think you could have an 8-team playoff and then still have controversy at the end of it. You're gonna.
Well, you would, but it wouldn't be this bad. It would be, like a number 9 versus, you know what I mean? There wouldn't be a number 9 team wouldn't have a real strong argument. Like, we would have won it, or it would be there. It would still be there, but not to this extent.
So I agree. 18 playoff is the way to go, but I'm just saying that under the system that was in place at the time that this season started, there was nothing saying that you had to win a conference championship.
Right.
Yeah. No, I
agree. No, I'm not saying that this was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying I don't like it. No, I agree with you, Mike. It was the 4 best teams were there. There's probably no question about it.
And I mean, look, I cannot disagree with the idea that UCF should have been in. Like, if they had given a spot to UCF, I would have not had an issue with it at all.
Yeah, the only people that would be complaining at that point is the Alabama fans,
right?
Yeah,
although I'm going to be perfectly honest, if we're just going straight 4 best teams, Clemson probably should have been the one left out.
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe, yeah.
If you're just going pure talent level, but yeah.
And if we're looking at the 4 teams that we're in, they have the worst loss out of the 4 of them.
Well, and
come on.
And that's another good argument for 8 teams because it opens it up a little more, so that you can make a mistake with a Clemson that I think they may have, because they still get in, but you're not leaving out someone that may have been more deserving of being there if you've got 8 teams.
But yeah, I agree. If they had dropped Alabama and gone with UCF, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But at the same time, I don't think you can make a good enough argument to say Alabama wasn't one of the best 4 teams. And given the parameters that exist, where a conference championship isn't necessary, I think it's not the choice I would have made, but it's the choice they made, and it's really hard to argue with it.
Yeah, I can't. I'm with you. I can't argue with it either. I didn't like it when they did it for Ohio State last year. I don't like it when they did it for Alabama this year. Mm-hmm. And until they set some parameters, more clearly defined parameters, this is what we've got. Now, granted, it's still better than the old BCS system, and it's way better than the penny saver being able to award you a national championship. But it just still needs to be some tweaks, though. But again, though, Alabama got in and they won the games. I mean, how do you argue that against that?
Yeah,
if they had gotten in, like you say, if Alabama had gotten in and gotten just blown out by Clemson, you go, wow, okay, that was a mistake. But I don't know how you can say it was a mistake at this point.
The people to blame for this is not Alabama, and it's really not even the committee itself. Blame the rest of college football. Yeah, like if Wisconsin beats Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, then Wisconsin's in. They may get their ass kicked in the first round, but they're in because they're an undefeated conference champion from a Power 5 school. They'd be in.
I want to work it down so we can somehow blame Jim Harbaugh for this, and I'm sure we can do it if we work hard enough.
If USC doesn't lose to probably the Notre Dame game, I think they could have survived the Washington State game, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But if they don't get blown up by Notre Dame, then USC is just as viable a candidate.
I'm actually going to blame Auburn.
Yeah, blame Auburn, not for beating Alabama, but for losing in the SEC title game.
If Alabama would have won the SEC title, then I don't think either Georgia or Alabama would have been there.
But speaking of USC, the Pac-12 has yet to make this thing, have they?
Washington made it last year.
Oh, that's boy, they were.
And they got dump trucked by Alabama.
Right. But yeah, I know. I'm with you, Mike. I mean, the 4 best. It's hard to argue that the 4 best teams weren't there. Could you argue that some teams you could have? Okay, could you have exchanged Ohio State and Alabama? I don't think you would lose much. No, I think you'd lose a little bit because I don't think Ohio State's as good as Alabama. You know what I mean? But for the most part, yeah, it was the 4 best teams as defined by the rules that we have in place right now, and that's just the way it goes. I would love to see it move to 8 because I think 8 makes it far more compelling, far more interesting, and you get a UCF in there, then you get to see what they can do. Because I watched UCF play Auburn, I really think that team was good enough to compete with at least Georgia and Oklahoma. I'm not so sure about Alabama, and maybe Clemson too. I don't know, but they were good enough to be in the tournament. They should have been there. And then until we fix this notion that these little conferences aren't good enough, I mean, we've seen Utah prove it. We saw Boise prove it. We saw UCF prove it. There's been others. They get on the stage and they play well. I mean, give them a shot. If they're undefeated, I don't know how you can keep them out, but we do, and that's the way it goes.
Yeah, and the idea was that this system wouldn't hurt those smaller schools anymore. And yes, they get the nominal group of 5 winner that gets to go in there, but now they're not in the playoff. They're in the Peach Bowl, and good for them. Going back to State made it to every Fiesta Bowl for like 3 years in a row. Anyway,
they're ready to change. They're about to make the turf blue for you guys. It was just such a home game for you at that point. But talking about Boise State, going back to that year they beat Oklahoma, I would argue that they would have performed well in a 14 playoff back then. I think they were good enough. But I don't think they were ranked high enough to get in at that point. I don't remember. Maybe they were. But just go to 8 teams. Just fix the damn thing. Do it the way I've been calling for 10 years now. 5 conference champions that are highest ranked, 3 at large. It solves every problem. And that's that. We can debate if 9 or 10 should have been there, whatever. We've seen it in college basketball. They have 94 teams in the tournament now, and there's still people bitching about not getting in. That's always going to be there. It's true. And so, yeah, we're going to get some
They
debate.
bitch about not getting in so that they can lose in the first round. Like, that's, I can't.
I used to love that damn tournament, and I think when so those extra 4 teams and those dumb playoff games just ruined it for me. I was like, this is just.
I don't think it's that. I think it's the NBA draft rule that's kind of screwed over college basketball.
That too, yeah. But
the only other question I have when it comes to the national championship sort of stuff, and I saw this kind of brought up, Nick Saban has now won 6 national titles, tying him with Bear Bryant.
Yeah.
I've never seen Bear Bryant. I think that it's probably easy to say that Nick Saban is the best college coach of all time. But the question was posed on, I think it was Around the Horn that I was watching at lunch the other day. Nick Saban or Bill Belichick?
As far as
best football coach?
Belichick.
I mean, I don't want to disparage the college game because as I've watched more of it, I've come to appreciate just how exciting it is, how dynamic it is, and just how much work these guys have to do as coaches because there's a whole other level of recruitment that goes into it that NFL coaches don't really have to worry about. But so I don't want to take anything away from Saban because he's accomplished a lot, but I mean, Bill Belichick has not only excelled, but he's excelled at what is frankly a higher level of competition. So it's got to be him.
Not only that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, especially because the NFL has been pushing parity. Whether or not that's worked is another issue altogether, but it's a league that has been trying to push parity, that has rules put in place to achieve that, such as salary caps that force roster turnover, whereas Nick Saban can basically choose the best team every year. So again, I don't want to take away from Nick Saban or what he's accomplished, but I think Belichick has done more with less at a higher level of competition.
That's what I was going to say too, that with Saban, yes, the recruiting is difficult and all that, but Bill Belichick, as good as the Patriots have been in this dynasty they've had for the last 15 years, they haven't developed a reputation where everybody wants to, maybe everybody wants to go play for them, but everybody can't go play for them. They can only take so many players. Alabama's just got a pipeline that just keeps getting filled with 5-star recruits, and Belichick doesn't have that luxury. So I think just overall, I think Belichick's a better coach. Period. Saban's. I think that what you're looking at right now, though, we're living in an era where we're watching probably the 2 best in their respective sports that we're ever going to see with Belichick and Saban. I don't know if anybody's ever going to be better than that. Bear Bryant even before my time, so I really can't tell you.
I would say that Belichick is probably the better personnel manager in that sense, but I want to say Saban's the better coach.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I think it's about keeping the team together and having that consistency. But Belichick's done a great job of keeping that unit together, and replacing the coordinators he needs to replace. An interesting stat that I saw put out after the championship game, every player that Nick Saban has recruited and played for him for at least 3 seasons has won a national title for him.
Wow.
Whether it's at LSU or Alabama.
Wow.
That's pretty damn incredible.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And you look at the sheer amount of NFL prospects he churns out, too. Whereas, but the one place he doesn't is quarterbacks. And something that he said last night when they were talking about the quarterbacks is that because the Tagovailoa kid was able to come in so seamlessly and do as well as he did, Saban says that they've orchestrated this thing to be something where there is no single player that will take down the entire team.
Well, and I think that's why he has trouble getting quarterbacks, because 5-star quarterbacks know this.
Yeah,
and you want to you want to go when you want, if you're an Andrew Luck level talent, you want to go to your Stanford for 4 years or 3, and you want to be the man with no questions for those 3 years. I don't know that you're going to get that at Alabama.
Yeah. Well, and you saw the Georgia kid, Jake Fromm.
Yeah.
Back in high school, his original commitment was to Alabama before he flipped to Georgia.
Yeah.
So he might have been rethinking his choices.
But yeah, I think that's part of why he can't get a quarterback is, like that's the issue, is because that very philosophy. But he doesn't. I don't know that they necessarily need a top flight quarterback. I think if they can get guys who just get the job done, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no question Saban's a great coach. I mean, the guy has succeeded everywhere he's ever been. I mean, I remember when he coached at Toledo, and he turned them around like that. And then he went to, I think, Michigan State. He did a great job there. Was the defensive coordinator for the Browns in '94 under Bill Belichick, and did a fantastic job with that defense. The guy's a fantastic coach.
Yep. And the one time he went to the NFL, the reason that he left is because he couldn't get everybody he wanted.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I think
like if
the
Drew
personnel
Brees
manager part's better.
If Drew Brees signs with the Dolphins instead of the Saints when Saban's there, I think it changes the whole narrative.
Oh yeah,
point. Yeah.
Well, because wouldn't that have been amazing to have Saban versus Belichick every single season?
Well,
twice a year.
In the division. I thought you meant like in the Super Bowl or something. Like, no, I get a little tired of that. But yeah, that would have been good.
Well, they couldn't play in the Super Bowl if it was Dolphins.
Right.
Patriots.
Yeah. You're right.
But they play regular season twice a year every year, and that'd be, that'd be pretty awesome.
That would be Saban versus Belichick, Brady versus Breeze. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool.
What was Saban's record at Miami? I mean, it wasn't terrible if I remember right.
I seem to remember they were going in the right direction.
Did he have a 10-6 season one? Did they? I don't remember if they made the playoffs or not, but I thought he did okay. I tell you this, if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you take either one of them right now. Doesn't matter, But I think they're both the best at what they do. I think Belichick is the greatest NFL coach we've ever seen. And I know people could argue Vince Lombardi, he won the 3 straight titles with the Packers, blah, 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 and all that. But
no, he only won 2 straight titles, first 2 Super Bowls.
No, 3 NFL titles.
They don't count, though.
Well, yeah. But
Saban's 2 years in the NFL, he was 15-17 overall.
Well, that's not terrible. And that was with who? Dante Culpepper at quarterback? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that's who was starting.
Yeah, Joey Harrington was benched for Cleo Lemon late in the season.
Yeah, okay. I mean, when your quarterbacks are Joey Harrington and Cleo Lemon, come on.
Yeah, he was 9-7 his first season and 6-10 his second year. Saban's first losing season as a head coach.
Yeah,
and then he left immediately.
And then he was back to, was that when he went to Bama or no?
I guess in his weekly press conferences on December 21st, he said, I guess I have to say it, I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. Then Nick Saban met with Alabama officials on January 1st, and shortly after the Dolphins' last game of the season, on January 3rd, he left.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, I'm not going to do it. 2 days later, I am the Alabama head coach.
Well, do you guys, speaking of coaches, do we want to talk about Gruden a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ.
What a dumb move by the Raiders. I'm sorry. I get it. It may sell some tickets. It might be the bridge to get you to Las Vegas. But if you're looking at this, if you're a Raiders fan and you're thinking, oh, here's Super Bowl, here we come, forget it. It ain't going to happen.
Well, here's the thing that's interesting. You say the bridge to Las Vegas. Well, I don't know about that. You say the bridge to Las Vegas. I read an interesting kind of read into what he was saying, because every time at the press conference somebody asked him about his future, or, the future of the franchise, he said, I'm happy to be back here in Oakland. I'm committed to Oakland. I'm glad to be part of the Oakland Raiders. And so to some people, it could be read as he's almost doing this as a favor to the Davis family because they know nobody would come in for 2 years as a lame duck.
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. It's an idea.
Yeah, but they also signed him to a 10-year deal, though.
Yeah, because Mark Davis is an idiot and doesn't care about throwing around money.
Right.
He literally dipped into the team's emergency fund to pay this contract.
Here's my question with this too, with John Gruden, because I'm positive Belichick's not making that much. Maybe he is. I don't know. But if
Gruden would be the highest paid coach.
If Gruden's worth that kind of money, what's Belichick worth? What's Sean McVay worth, for that matter?
Yeah.
I've never gotten Gruden. He makes funny faces and he's kind of entertaining on the sidelines, but he really wasn't that great a coach. When you look at it from the big picture, that Super Bowl he won, I don't care what anybody says, he did that with Tony Dungy's team. He had nothing to do with that. I think if Tony Dungy had gotten one more shot, he wins that Super Bowl. It was as simple as that.
I heard, I guess I was reading something where in the mic'd up segment for that Super Bowl, that at some point John Lynch said that the Raiders from Gruden's season the year before hadn't changed any of their plays, hadn't changed any of their calls, and the Buccaneers knew exactly what they were running every single time they walked up to the line because they saw it in practice the week before, every single play.
Yeah, well, it makes it easy when you know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you send a baseball player to the plate, the guy knows he's going to get 3 straight fastballs, it makes it a whole lot easier to hit. Same idea.
They had to get all the way there, but yeah, he was mediocre after that.
Yeah.
He won 2 playoff games after that.
I'm a little surprised he went back. I thought he was going to pull a Bill Cowher, but okay. I just think it's a bad move for the Raiders.
Given the amount of money they're paying him, I'd do it.
Yeah, I would too.
I think that has to be part of it.
Yeah.
Because he was making like $3 million a year with ESPN.
I thought it was like 6.
Was it? Yeah. Still.
It doesn't matter if it's 6 or 3. $10 million for 10 years? Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, look, if he wants to coach, more power to him. I just don't know
I think he wants $100 million. I think that's what he wants.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I mean, I don't know because I don't have that kind of money, and I'm never probably going to. I would think that once you've got your first 15 or 20 million, does it really matter after that? I mean, I guess ego comes into it. You want to be the guy that gets paid that much, but that's why I'll never have that kind of money. The minute I made my first million, I'm like, that's it. I'm gone. Y'all can kiss my ass. I'm going to go retire and sit on the beach. I don't know. It's just it's an interesting move. It's going to create a lot of conversation between now and next football season, but I just don't think it's going to work out at all like the Raiders fans think it's going to. It's not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's like in Star Wars. This isn't going to go like how you think it's going to go.
I do know that this has caused quite a hubbub in the Tampa Bay area.
Oh, I bet.
People wanted Gruden back.
Well,
some
to count their
Tampa
blessings.
wanted Gruden. Tennessee wanted Gruden. Yeah, apparently, I did read a story where I guess Tampa was talking to Gruden first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's where the rumors started.
When they heard that how much money that the Raiders were getting involved, the Buccaneers backed out and said, "We're not going to pay that kind of. We're not getting involved in this bidding. No way.
No way. It would be silly to." But, hey, you never know. He might reel off 5 straight Super Bowls with the Raiders. I sincerely doubt it, but stranger things have happened. Well, Zach, how was the Rams game? I mean, other than the score, obviously, but what was it like going to the Coliseum to see a game?
Other than the score, I mean, I've been to USC games at the Coliseum, but this was really something different. Under the lights, it was pretty great. The whole day, my girlfriend and I went and we had a day of it, and it just, it sucked. It sucked to lose, but it was probably one of the most fun sporting events I've ever been to.
Cool.
It was just such a great atmosphere, and in the Rams uniform thread, Rockstar Matt said this, and I thought it kind of echoed my sentiments perfectly. The whole time the game's going on, the place was excited. We were so ready to give ourselves over to the Rams, and just if they had just done anytime there was any sort of spark of offense going, the place got revved up. They were ready to go. It wasn't like other Rams games this season where there's been 40% of the other team's fans. There were a few Falcons fans, but it was almost probably I'd say 90% Rams fans in the stadium, and they were just so ready to embrace the team and give all they could and really go on a run with them. And the Rams just couldn't get the engine started. The too early special teams turnovers when special teams have been their calling card. For whatever reason, they weren't handing the ball off to Todd Gurley early in the game. And it just, they could never get their footing really to push forward and get over the hump. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, well, they're young, I think, is the thing, too. I really think the team's set up well, so this isn't going to be a one-and-done type deal, but...
Yeah, and like on Mike, when we were leaving the game, it wasn't a negative vibe leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
It was very much we lost, but this whole season's been great. This has been really fun. Today was fun, and, we can't wait to come back and do it again.
I think they're in good shape. I mean, they got a great young coach, good young quarterback. They got talent, and they're just going to get better. It's just, it's good to see. Well, I've said it all along. It's great to see them back in Los Angeles where they belong, and it's good to see the fans show up. And they made the playoffs. They've just, I think, all in all, if you're an LA football fan, you got to be pretty happy with this season.
Yeah. No, I mean, the only thing to complain about really is the loss, and as long as they can, re-sign a couple guys, and they'll be fine. I can't wait to like going to the playoff game. Really, I was, as you guys know, I was in on the Rams. I was a fan. I was rooting for them, but finally going to the game and going to that game in particular, I can't wait to go back. I'm 100% in on the Rams. Like,
good.
The fact that I was over a Colts fan, the fact that I was over a Colts fan is a distant memory at this point.
Yeah, you made the trade in at the right time. Let me tell you.
Well, it was funny when I was watching that game. I was thinking about a conversation we had. I think it was back. Well, when the Rams had announced they were moving, but they weren't officially back yet, we were talking about it on the show, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Blah, 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 about the Colts and this and that. And Mike and I are both like, dude, you're going to be a Rams fan. Just go with it. I mean, you could tell by the way you were talking that the Colts were done for. And this was before anything had even happened really yet. And it was just, you could just tell that it's just different when they're in your town and when they're your team.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And it having been to NFL experiences in other stadiums and mostly Arizona, and even being to a playoff game over there, a playoff game in the Coliseum, it was definitely an old school NFL game.
Yeah.
Like my girlfriend's like, we want to go to a Rams road game next year, maybe over to Arizona or whatever. She's like, when the new stadium opens up, because I want a real NFL experience. And I was kind of like, well, this isn't really all that different, because like we were sitting there and the commercial breaks would come up. She's like, are we in another commercial break? I said, yep. Welcome to the National Football League.
Gotta sell that Papa John's.
This is what we do.
Truthfully, she probably was at more of a real NFL experience at that game than she will be at, say, Arizona. If you want like the true old school NFL experience, that's probably what you guys got.
Well, that was the old school experience, the stadium and all that. But it's still a Coliseum. Like, we've been there for USC games, and it's really not that different ultimately. But anyway.
I saw it when you were sharing picks. I just want to talk about those Chargers signs.
Yeah. Even when the Chargers aren't playing, they're still losing the fight for LA.
Yeah. Oh, it's all right.
They never
somebody paid some guys to fly over the stadium with. Let me pull up the pictures so I can get the wording on these signs right. Because like we're walking around and she points up at the sky like, what are those? And I look, I'm like, oh my god.
Worst owner in sports, Dean Spanos, sell the team.
Yes. And then the other one says, well, that was the second one. The first one says, NFL, LA is home to the Rams and Raiders. No one else.
Poor Chargers. They're just their home, minding their own business, not on the radar at all. And all of a sudden, they're getting smacked around again.
Look, Dean Spanos deserves it, man. What can I say?
He really should sell that team to the first person that's want to take it back to San Diego and be done with this nonsense.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I forgot to say, I got to laugh at the Chargers 3 different times on Sunday or on Saturday, I guess. We laughed at them before the game with that. I laughed at them during the game. What did I laugh at them for during the game? I forget.
Probably just in general.
Someone wearing a Chargers jersey in the stand?
Yes. Yeah, there was somebody wearing a Chargers jersey.
Why? Look, I'm a Chargers fan. I would not embarrass myself like that. Like, come on.
There was also a Mike Evans Buccaneers jersey that walked by.
Yeah, you told me about that one. You told us on the text about that.
Yeah, that's topical. Good job.
And I saw Raiders jerseys and other. NFL games are weird when it comes to jerseys. There's a lot of different people there. And then I laughed after the game. I rode the train back to our parking spot with some Falcons fans, and we got the joke about the Chargers there too. So that was fun.
Well, speaking of jerseys, okay, I'm going to go on a limb here and say that probably the most popular Rams jersey were the throwbacks, right, in the stands.
Well, you gotta be specific, Greg. Which throwback?
Well, the blue and golds. The
blue and golds. I would say 85% of the people in that building were wearing blue and gold.
All right, now I'm sure there might have been some blue and whites too, but
I sat behind a Deacon Jones.
Here's my question: Was anyone wearing any of the current stuff? Not just. Was anybody wearing the current blue jerseys?
The current blue jerseys. I saw
Like
three
the Rams
Sam
jersey, I
Bradford
sent you a
jersey.
picture of my Kurt Warner throwback. That
Yeah,
one.
there were a few.
Okay.
But in terms of, order of percentages, I'd say like 80% of the people were wearing blue and gold. Maybe another 10% or maybe another 8% were wearing blue and white. And then you had people wearing the current whites, and then a very few amount of people wearing the blues.
So if you're going to base it on fan response, it looks like what they're probably going to do then is that when they change over, they'll go back to the blue and gold, and maybe the blue and whites will be an alternate, which I'd be fine with. That'd be okay.
Yeah, and I will say there were actually more color rush jerseys than I was expecting to see, but people are grabbing onto those yellows.
I can understand
they
the
look
color
good.
rush.
Yeah, as just a jersey to wear with jeans or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good. They might even be good game jerseys if they wore them with white pants.
Oh, that'd be beautiful.
Yeah. No, I think the future look, it has to be blue and gold with the color rush yellow and a throwback white.
Yeah.
Like that's what the look needs to be. You check all your boxes and you ignore the Millennium Blue and New Century Yellow or whatever the hell they call it.
Vegas gold, basically.
Yeah.
But to the game itself, I got to commend the Falcons. They didn't make any mistakes and they ran the ball effectively. That's how they won that football game.
They're quietly setting up here. If things go like we think they're going to go, it's going to depend a lot on the weather on Sunday or Saturday whenever they play at Philly. But with them going into Philly with having to play Nick Foles, I like their chances a lot all of a sudden. Now, if it's, Carson Wentz, forget it. That's over at this point. But are the Falcons going to sneak their way back into the Super Bowl?
Well, no, because then they'd still end up having to play either the Saints or Falcons.
Yeah,
in the
that's
title
true.
game.
That's true.
So
I could think that the Falcons could play the Vikings or could beat the Vikings.
Yeah, I do too.
If the Vikings beat the Saints, I think Atlanta has a shot, definitely, to get in. Let me see. How did Atlanta do against the Saints this year?
I think
at the end of the day, why do they want to go back to the Super Bowl? So they can play the Patriots and have Tom Brady smash them from the gate because he's not.
No. No. We want the same thing to happen this year that happened last year. Dude, I am all on the let's make Atlanta the new Cleveland train here, so I'm pulling for it.
Greg's got selfish reasons.
Damn right.
The Saints lost in Atlanta, and Atlanta lost in New Orleans.
Okay, about what you'd expect then, I guess.
Yeah, it was the game in Atlanta was where'd it go? 20-17, and the game in New Orleans was 23-13. So not blowouts by either stretch. But I think that's an option. It's just a matter of them playing conservatively because here's the thing. The thing that people were looking at going into the game if people were picking Atlanta, they said, well, if Atlanta finds their old form, people have been waiting all year for the Falcons to get back to being the Falcons and running up the score on people. And that's just not going to happen. We're this far into the year. It's just the Falcons aren't going to reawaken like that. But they have to do what they did on Sunday. They have to win the turnover battle, which, admittedly the Rams kind of gave them those 2 fumbles in the first quarter, although they only scored 6 points out of it. So the Rams were still in it.
Yeah, I think just real quick on that too. When you've got 2 turnovers like that early and you only come away with 6 points out of it, that's not a good sign.
The Rams defense was playing very well. It's just the offense couldn't get going because the Falcons defense, I got to give them credit too. They shut off Todd Gurley when it came to a passing option because he had 10 targets for 2 catches. And he ran for over 100 yards, but that was mostly late in the game. The Falcons D did really well and they were able to run the ball. Yeah, like the Rams had an injury on the D line. Michael Brockers went out, I think, in the first or second quarter, and the Falcons were running to that spot every single time after that.
Yeah.
And they just controlled the game. The Rams just couldn't get them off the field. They were doing well to contain them, but they just couldn't get off the field in that regard. So if the Falcons can play a conservative game like that, good defense, run the ball, they might just be in this thing because Matt Ryan can helmet. Like, Matt Ryan's a great passer, but he's also a smart guy.
Yep.
He can put it together if he needs to.
Yeah. It's going to be, I don't know. I just, looking at it, I think you're right. I think they can beat the Vikings if they get there. They should beat the Eagles, but you never know. I mean, if Nick Foles plays a decent game, then the Eagles are going to win because they've got everything else. I think the Eagles have to do what you were talking about the Falcons doing. They got to run and pass just enough to keep the run honest, basically, and that's about all they can do because they're not going to. It's not the Carson Wentz-led Eagles, and Foles has been pretty bad his last few games, I guess.
The Falcons are going to beat the Eagles. That much is clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
I think so.
But
that much is clear. They are nothing without our Lord and Savior, Carson Wentz.
You mean the guy that the Cleveland Browns said could never be a top 20 quarterback in this league?
No.
One and the same?
Yeah,
that guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Should we talk about our favorite coach, Andy Reid?
Oh.
Yeah, well, geez, when it comes to God, I just
I feel for him.
I kind of do too.
I
don't know. Maybe it's because he's like a really fat guy, but like he seems like I just want to give him a hug.
You know, when I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcast for the week, and this also came up when I was talking to my grandpa about it. Things like the Marcus Mariota touchdown pass to himself. Those things don't happen to the teams like the Patriots.
No.
And it's only happened to them twice in the helmet catch and the Mario Manningham catch that 1 year. Those are the only time those things happen. Usually, those things don't happen to teams like the Patriots. What they do happen to is teams like the Chiefs and teams like Andy Reid's teams. Mm-hmm. There's just it's something unexplainable. Like it's not like he does anything particular to have these unlucky. Like you can't do something to have a touchdown pass be batted off somebody's arm and back into his arms.
Right. You can't have a poor game plan that is the result of, if we hadn't ran this play or, if we had played a better defense, the ball wouldn't have bounced off the other guy's head. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't plan for that. Yeah. You can't blame that on him. You can blame on him the fact that Kareem Hunt only touched the ball 5 times in the second half. That you can blame on him.
Yeah. And, immediately after Kelsey's injury, they just forgot how to pass.
Right. Yeah.
I know Travis Kelce is good for you, but he's not the only guy that you have.
No.
And just somehow or another, the Titans just crept back into it. And Marcus Mariota had a great second half, and there you go, 22-21. What the hell?
I'd like to point something else out too. If you remember when the Chiefs had that collapse in the middle of the season, Andy Reid turned the play calling over to, I guess, the offensive coordinator. Well, come around to the playoff game last week, and Andy Reid splitting the play calling, and guess what happens? They lose again. I'm not saying that his play calling is what cost him. I'm saying that if you were winning, doing it that, like we talked about a little bit ago, if you're doing something that works, keep doing it. Don't change just for the sake of change or whatever. But of all the teams in the playoffs, if you had said one of them was going to come back from a 21-3 deficit, the Titans wouldn't have been any of them, I would have guessed. There's no way in the world it's never going to happen with them.
And the Titans are going to get their doors blown off.
Oh, God.
Like, that's not...
That's going to be... They shouldn't even air that. That's just going to be cruel.
Well, especially with that article that came out, because that's just what the Patriots need is another reason to, go into FU mode.
Oh, give Brady a reason to be mad.
Right.
You know what this exactly reminds me of? Remember the year that the Colts had that incredible comeback against the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember what happened the very next week?
Yeah, they got
Patriots
steamrolled by the Patriots.
They played the Patriots and lost 52-12.
Yeah, right. Wasn't that was Deflategate? That was when Deflategate started.
Was that the Deflategate?
Yeah, that was the Deflategate season. Like I said, that article about the Patriots, you can say what you want about it, believe it, don't believe it, whatever the case may be. The last thing we needed, if you don't want another Patriots Super Bowl win, was this to happen. Because just don't piss them off. Just stay quiet and leave them alone. But no, we gotta. ESPN's got to come out and be like, look what we've done. We've put together this article that really doesn't say a whole lot of anything, but it says enough to get people to read it. You read it and you go, what's the big deal? But whatever.
Well, Tom Brady will feast upon the Titans.
Yes.
It won't be pretty.
God, I don't know what to do with the Chiefs. Andy Reid's the Oakland A's of coaches.
Yes. He really is.
He's they're good. He has a good coaching record, just not when it counts.
Yeah,
he's new age Marty Schottenheimer.
Exactly. It's just going to use that exact comparison. He's the new Marty Schottenheimer. Yeah.
What the hell do you do? It's like you win games, but you don't win the right ones. I don't know.
Well, it's like we talked about it with like the Caps in hockey. I mean, do you either go, okay, he's got to get it right one of these times, or what? I mean, what do you do? Because you can't argue with his regular season success is right there with anybody's.
I thought the stat was that Andy Reid has lost his last 6 home playoff games.
Yes, that's correct.
Like, what the hell?
Right, so that's what I'm saying. So, but you look at his regular seasons, and he's a good coach. Yeah. So do you sit back and you go, okay, he has to get it right eventually, or what? I mean, it's a really tough spot to be in, I would think.
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
to both these teams' credit, despite it being, the early Saturday game, it wasn't Bills Jaguars.
Oh.
That game.
Mike put it best. He said this game's living up to all the hype in quotes.
Like, this is everything you thought this game would be. This game is perhaps the shining example of just how bad the AFC was this year.
My favorite stat from this game was Blake Bortles, 87 passing yards, 88 rushing yards.
Blake Bortles, playoff victor. Blake Bortles, by the way.
Those are great numbers if you're a high school quarterback.
12 for 23 for 87 yards and 88 yards on 10 carries.
Oh, man.
His quarterback rating, his QBR was 58.6.
To circle back to another game, are you serious we couldn't let the Chargers into the playoffs? I mean, come on.
Oh, everybody said that the playoffs would be infinitely better with the Chargers in there instead of like the Jags or the Titans.
Could the Chargers play the Ravens in this game instead? Like, that would have been a better game.
Look, I love the fact that my irrational confidence Titans made the playoffs and all that, but my God, they are just there. I mean, it was a fun game, but that was as good as it was possibly ever going to get for them this year. Now they're going to get killed. Jacksonville, I mean, they beat Pittsburgh earlier this season, but do we really think they're going to go in there and do it again? I don't.
Not if they play like they did on Sunday.
No.
not happening.
Oh, God. Like, seriously, let's fire the Bills and the Jags into the sun, and we'll just have and the Chargers and the Ravens can play a game, and then they'll play, and the winner of that one will play the Steelers. Like, come on.
Well, this is what we got, and it's
it's stupid this year. God, fuck this conference. Like, I'm a big AFC fan, but screw it. This is a goddamn disgrace this season.
Is this the worst playoff game of all time? Like
the Bills Jags?
It's the
right
worst
there.
It's the worst I've seen. I've been watching football for a not small amount of time. Like, I've seen a lot of playoff football. This is bad.
I'd take last year's Raiders-Texans game over this.
Yes. I'm trying to think. I didn't see this game, but I think the Cowboys beat the Lions 5-0 in the playoffs once. So
hey, you got a safety.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
As far as I can remember, and I've watched more playoff games than you guys have, but I can't remember one being this boring or just.
At least in a 5-0 game, the next day, at work, you can go, "Hey, did you see the safety?"
Yeah. It was bad. I mean,
although,
seriously, but the way
should be ashamed. This season is shameful for the American Football Conference.
It really is. It really is. I mean, not only that, you had a team go 0-16 in your conference. You've got these shit playoff teams.
Damn it!
But
Al Davis is rolling in his grave. Come on out. This is the league. This is the conference that almost took down the NFL. Come on, guys. Come on.
Wouldn't you think too that if you sat down and took Jacksonville's numbers before this game and said this is what they're going to do on offense, wouldn't you pick the Bills to win that game every single time? And seeing what Jacksonville did on offense, you'd be like, "There's no way Buffalo can lose this, right?" But they did. Oh man, it was horrible. Yeah. Just horrible.
Yeah, just the worst. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah, let's move on. What do we got left? Saints, Panthers, right?
Saints, Panthers. The Panthers, honestly, the Panthers played the exact game that they needed to play. Mm-hmm. They controlled the ball. They ran it effectively. Cam Newton was actually pretty okay, but Drew Brees was explosive. Yeah. 372 yards, and I think they only had the ball for 22 minutes total. and they win at 31-26. Drew Brees hasn't lost anything.
I'll tell you this, and I said it last week, and I still like the Saints team to make it all the way to the Super Bowl, but you've been hearing people talk about it. I read it in an article, I think, 2 weeks ago, that the Saints, what I like best about the New Orleans Saints is they played a tough schedule to get, 11-5, 10-6? They played a really tough schedule to get there. They are used to playing good teams. So that's like, you don't have to worry about them. Like, you look at Jacksonville and you go, well, yeah, they did this and that, but here's what they do against good teams. You don't have to do that with the Saints. The Saints have done this against good teams, and that's what I like about them. And they did it again because the Panthers played well, I thought. But the Saints just, you've got the running backs, what's his name, Kamara, and Mark Ingram still playing pretty well. They run the ball well. But if you need that X factor, Drew Brees can't do it like he did it all the time back in the heyday, but he's still got it in him. And I think that makes a big difference with this team, with the Saints. That's going to be the difference, is that if he needs to, he can go out and light you up for 400 yards in a game. I really like this bunch.
Yeah. No, they've got it.
Saints Falcons is going to be Saints Vikings is going to be a very good game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's easily the best game in the next round, I think.
Absolutely.
Just like this was probably the best game of this round.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed this game watching it. It was a good one.
If we could just get the Saints to wear good-looking uniforms, this would be a blast. But
the Saints just need to burn the black pants, and they'll be all right.
Absolutely, I completely agree. But yeah, I and then I read something else too about Minnesota, about their great defense. If you look at the last three teams they played to end the season, I don't know that us 3 and 8 other guys couldn't have done pretty well against this crew. They beat the Packers with no quarterback, the Bears, who I guess have like a third of a quarterback. And I forget the other one, but it was like they were putting up these great defensive numbers against teams with essentially no offense. So I don't know that Vikings defense scares me that much if I'm the Saints.
Well, we'll see. I mean, this is a big test. If they can shut down Drew Brees, then they're for real. But,
Yep, I agree. And we've got Case Keenum. Okay, let me back up a second. At the beginning of the season, did any of us think we would be mentioning Case Keenum and playoff game in the same sentence?
No.
Casey, you know what? We're only a few games away from Casey Keenum, Super Bowl MVP. Just think about that. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Nope.
It may not, probably won't happen.
Well, no, but think about it, Mike.
It's far closer to happening than anyone thought possible.
Think about it for a second. Let's say that they do make the Super Bowl and they do win and they beat the Patriots or the Steelers, whichever one gets in, right? Yeah. And he has a pretty good game, and let's say the defense plays solid, but none of them stand out. Who are they going to give it to? Of course, they're going to give it to Case Keenum, right?
Come on,
yeah,
let's make it happen. Okay, that's who I'm pulling for. I'm pulling for Casey Keenum, Super Bowl MVP, their new bandwagon for the rest of the playoffs.
No, please no.
And then you can thank Jeff Fisher.
Well, and the funny thing, too, is there were three? Well, there's the one current Rams quarterback and 2 former Rams quarterbacks in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I was going to say that, yeah.
There.
Nick Foles.
That I keep forgetting he played for the Rams. Yeah.
He played for the Rams and the Chiefs, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets about that.
But yeah, I think Saints-Vikings, Saints-Vikings, that's the really interesting game this weekend. I don't see Tennessee making it. I mean, the Patriots, my God, that's not even going to be any fun to watch.
No, the Patriots are going to blow them out. The only thing that you could maybe be afraid of is the Steelers playing down to the Jaguars, which they played down to their teams all season.
Yeah.
And then I think Falcons-Eagles could be interesting, but I still like the Falcons.
I would put it this way, as long as the weather's not like 15 degrees or super cold like it was last week, I think the Falcons will be okay, but if it gets really cold out, I got to go with the Eagles. But then again, I don't know.
Yeah,
because without a quarterback, who knows? I got to go with the Falcons too. I mean, it just would take an awful lot for the Eagles to win.
It's looking like 55 degrees in Philadelphia.
Oh shit, Falcons will be fine, man. They'll have no trouble with that. No trouble.
Yeah, the cold game of the weekend will be Pittsburgh at 21.
Ooh,
Foxborough will be. It looks like there's a little rain in the forecast, but it's 55 degrees.
Yeah, they're getting the weather we're having right now. So, yeah. Well, yeah, if the Falcons are in 55-degree weather, they're home free, no problem. And hard as it to believe to myself that I'm about to say this, I kind of feel bad for Eagles fans because they had a great team this year and number 1 seed, and they're going to go home after the first week.
They had what Oakland had last year.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like you have this great season, you're resurgent, and then your quarterback goes out.
And they were like, just like the Raiders last year, they were fun to watch and everything. Yeah. And now, now you got Nick Foles.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well, yeah, so that's what we like. We'll say, okay, let's pick our games real quick here. Obviously, we're all going Patriots, Titans, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. My irrational confidence ends when we hit Foxborough. Sorry, guys, with Titans, but it's just the way it goes.
I think we're all on the Steelers, right? Nobody's going to be dumb enough.
No. The fact that Blake Bortles has won a playoff game in and of itself is a travesty. And
if he wins one more, that's some sort of paradox. It's going to mean the world's ending. We can't survive that as a society. We can't. As an existence, as a reality, we can't survive that.
Blake Bortles, yeah.
But who? Okay, just real quick on Blake Bortles. I think they're going to bring in like an Alex Smith or Kirk Cousins next year, right? He's not there next year, is he? In Jacksonville as a starter? I mean, he might still be there, but
I think so.
I mean, no, I'll take Kirk Cousins or Alex Smith over Blake Bortles easily.
You know what my fear is? That the Browns are going to go, well, we've got the new franchise quarterback in Darnold or Rosen, and we're going to bring Blake Bortles in to, like, hold the seat until, like, okay, fine, whatever. But, all right, so anyway, I like the Steelers. We all like the Pats. Sounds like
I like Falcons.
I'm on the Falcons, too. Mike, you with the Falcons?
Yes.
Saints-Vikings, what do we like?
I can't, in my good conscience, pick Case Keenum.
Yeah.
I can't. I got to go with the Saints.
I'm going to go with the Saints, too.
Well, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, so I can't bail now. I'm fully on the Saints bandwagon, so I got to go with the Saints, too.
We're all on the Saints.
We're all on the Saints. And
by the way, because doing my Chris Berman impression reminded me of Buffalo. They lost the game. They played awful. But Bills Mafia, you showed up in Jacksonville, and you broke so many tables. I'm proud of you.
I love those Bills fans. I really do. I always.
The city of Jacksonville banned the sale of folding tables to people with out-of-state licenses.
God.
In the same way that every city has banned people from buying catfish or octopuses or whatever, the city of Jacksonville banned the sale of folding tables.
I will never. I mean, I'll always have a soft spot for the Bills fans because when the Browns left in '95, the Bills said they had a dog weekend. They're like, we want to invite Browns fans. It was a really nice thing to do. So, dildos and broken tables and all that aside, I still have a soft spot for them. They're a good bunch of people.
They're salt of the earth.
Yeah,
Buffalo.
right, something like that. I don't know if I go that far, but they made a nice gesture, and I have to acknowledge that.
Poor Buffalo.
Anyway, so we got anything else? Because I know Zach's on a tight timetable tonight.
Yeah,
so.
I just have one breaking news thing.
Okay.
Breaking news. This is just breaking. The Army is officially opposing the Vegas Golden Knights trademark.
Well, good for them, I guess.
Well, isn't it a little late?
Nope. It's before the deadline.
I know, but we're halfway through the season.
Wouldn't that be great, Lo? Court order comes down halfway through the season.
What would they do?
when they win the Stanley Cup, they'll have to put two names on the trophy, right?
God, help us.
No, I mean seriously, like if the Army wins this, what do the Knights have to quit wearing their jerseys or what?
Like I don't know. This has never happened. Although I want to echo the Admiral though and say congratulations to the NHL for potentially having a team's trademark revoked without using a racial slur. That was impressive.
Yeah, that takes some work these days.
So yeah.
I mean, if we needed to add one more chapter to the Only in the Goddamn NHL book.
Team loses trademark halfway through season.
This is up there. This is good God.
Well,
yeah,
it'll be interesting. It'll be. We haven't seen this before.
Just Las Vegas hockey team for a few weeks as they play in plain black jerseys from the Vegas placeholder logo.
No, there you go. There you go. Problem solved. Vegas placeholder logo, right? Vegas hockey placeholder, right there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they? Now that's just for the logo, right? Not the colors. Yeah. So technically, they could just put like Vegas on the jerseys or something to keep the same colors and everything.
I guess it would depend. The Army mentions the colors, but I don't know if it means that they could still use the colors if they had a different name, but yeah.
Well, this will be interesting.
I'm just looking forward to the team in plain black jerseys for a few weeks with Vegas placeholder.
I want like white with electrical tape, like Vegas spelled out electrical tape with the numbers on the back. That would be hysterical.
Yeah. Oh God.
All right. So anyway, go ahead.
I was just gonna echo what Zach said. Like, only in the goddamn NHL could this happen. Like, team loses trademark halfway through season, needs to wear practice jerseys
with electrical tape numbers.
With electrical tape, yeah.
All right, real quick before we go, the Super GTOV is getting positive response, so we got a couple of good ideas. I know a friend of the show, Dennis, gave us a really nice idea about maybe having a couple of play-in slots. So we're going to work all that out, but it looks like the Super GTOV is going to happen, so we'll keep you posted on that. And before we go, remember you can follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports, subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube, and find us on Facebook. And with that, Zach's got to get back to work. We'll see you next time.
Later.
Adios.